Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky is optimistic about the future with President-elect Trump returning to the White House. Here he is.
І ще раз підкреслюю, з політикою цієї команди, яка зараз очолить Білий дім, війна закінчиться швидше. Це їх підхід, це їх обіцянка, їх суспільству. І для них це також дуже важливо.
The Wall Street Journal editorial board writes, left unsaid by the White House is that Mr. Biden is trying to strengthen Ukraine's position before he leaves office. Mr. Biden would like to fortify Ukraine by delivering all of the munitions Congress approved in its most recent aid package. The tragedy is that Mr. Biden has hamstrung Ukraine on the delivery and the usage of advanced weapons for so long. In focus now, Mike Huckabee, former Arkansas governor and the Trump administration ambassador to Israel nominee. Great to see you. Let's start right now with this idea that Biden's about to do this as he leaves office. And what does that mean for incoming policy? And that affects the whole world.
It really does, Harris. It's a little unusual that a president in his lame duck days of ending his reign as president would make major policy shifts. It just doesn't really ring as to why would he do this. Is it to somehow hamstring or make it difficult for the Trump administration? I don't know. But it's not a good look, and it's not a good act on his part. And I'm hoping that maybe he'll back off. If he does anything, he should find out what the Trump administration will be doing and try to make sure that he helps accommodate that. That's what we would have in what I would call a peaceful and also a smooth transition.
Oh, interesting. So, you know, Biden had the president-elect over to the White House last week. They spent like almost 2 hours together. And the length of that meeting alone would lead you to think that maybe this came up. This action was decisive by Biden. Make no mistake about it. And this is what needed to have from generals and other military experts that you and I both talked to. This is what needed to happen in the early days against Russia, not 1,000 days later. So legacy point, is it that? And what does this do for Biden? Because I have to think that's at play here.
It very well could be and probably is. But I again go to the point that we don't need to have a major policy shift right now about a month and a half before President Trump is sworn in, and then turn around and have a different policy shift as soon as the inauguration is over. There needs to be some consistency and continuity. I hope that if they did talk about it, that this is all in line with that. I wasn't privy to that conversation. I thought it was a good conversation. And the fact that they spent that much time together in a very civil manner was, to me, a great testament for going forward. But I do have great concerns that something might be done either here or at the UN that would make it more difficult for President Trump to get going on his agenda.
Yeah, it sounds like those Democrat governors across the United States. We'll get into that a little bit later in the show. But yeah, there's a lot of pushback, anti-Trump still moving. And Israeli strike, missile strike in Beirut against Hezbollah terrorists perpetrating as a military for Lebanon, happened on Sunday and killed the terror group's spokesman. On Friday, another Israeli airstrike destroyed a high-rise building in Beirut. This comes as Israel continues to step up its fight against Hezbollah. A new opinion piece says, quote, as he heads for the exit, President Biden is easing sanctions on Hamas and Hezbollah while sanctioning Jews in Israel. Under pressure from Israel, bashing critics. A president who stood firmly behind Israel after the October 7th massacre seems to have lost his moral compass. A separate opinion piece here. President Biden doesn't grasp this. While he provided support, he also tried to limit Israel's independence. Every step of the way, he has micromanaged Israel and tried to leverage a patron-client relationship. President Biden said this earlier, just in the last little bit.
Israel has a right to defend itself after the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. But how it defends itself, even as Hamas cruelty hides among civilians, matters a great deal. The United States has led the world in humanitarian aid to Gaza. And we're going to keep pushing to accelerate a ceasefire deal that ensures Israel's security but brings hostages home and ends the suffering of the Palestinian people and children.
The first part of that, Governor Huckabee, Israel has the right to defend itself, but, and then the rest of what he said. So you're the nominee for the UN ambassador for the United States at the UN for Israel. Do you and President-elect Trump see it the way Biden sees it, or how different will it be? Because you're right, this triggers yet another policy shift, or maybe not, but it looks like one right before Trump takes over.
Well, I haven't been confirmed by the Senate, so I want to be real careful that
You're
I'm
a
not
nominee.
speaking with some level of officialdom. But what we've had is a schizophrenic policy toward Israel. We've put far more pressure with Joe Biden on Israel than we have on Hamas, Hezbollah, and most importantly, the people who write those checks, the Iranians. Why haven't we put pressure on them? And I keep hearing about ceasefire. We can have a ceasefire right now. We could have had it on October the 8th. Hamas lays down its arms, gives up its bombs, bullets, rockets, and stops killing Jews.
Hostages.
That's the ceasefire. Yeah, and lets the hostages, 7 American hostages, Harris, why haven't they been released? Why hasn't this administration put more pressure to get those hostages, American hostages, all of them actually, but especially the Americans, than we're putting on Israel? This just doesn't make any sense at all. And this policy, which is on again, off again, is very disruptive, and it's really giving more rope to Hamas. And the last thing they need is some breathing room. They need to be suffocated and ended. There's no peace in that region until these terror groups funded by Iran are completely eliminated.
So why is Biden easing the sanctions on Hamas and Hezbollah, the bloodthirsty killers?
I have no idea. It makes no sense. It may be one of the dumbest policy decisions ever. Why would you ease up on people who are killing civilians intentionally? Why would you ease up on people who are responsible for the massacre, and I mean the bloody massacre, of innocent civilian Jews on October the 7th, and somehow think that you can negotiate with these people? You can't. Even our own State Department labels them as a terrorist group, not a government. So why would we in any way pretend that they are going to be capable of sitting down at the table, having Kool-Aid with us, and somehow we'll all get along, toast some marshmallows, and sing Kumbaya? Ain't going to happen. They've got to be eliminated.
Mike Huckabee, I know you are the nominee for the U.S. ambassador to Israel at the United Nations. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time today, and we'll follow back with you when you've got that title.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.